This is a really nice chest, yeah, because you have all the leather, you have a bit of food, all the torches, you have the
So all
shield.
the leather, I'm trying to think. I'd have to go back and like watch my whole LP. I might have crafted one piece of leather armor. Um, so one of the trade-offs with your food system is, unlike Moral
Hmm.
Minecraft, the player is really, 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 really incentivized not to take damage. And so I find that armor durability never matters in your map. And I know I'm also like a very careful player, and so other people are probably taking more damage and breaking off more armor more frequently.
That's that's kind of true what you're saying. I probably need to keep that in account more on just giving out less armor and more tools, basically. Just
Yeah, again, like, having more leather, like I just had, like a big chest of it at the end of the map. Um,
yeah, I saw that in your let's play where you opened like where you showed what you
okay,
had in
good. I
terms of
already did
loot.
that.
You had this double chest full of what was it, chain leather and gold, a bit of
Yeah,
gold, I
it was
think.
basically, yeah, my armor chest that was filled with kind of all of that kind of stuff before I had iron. And yeah, I mean, again, I did an inventory wipe. I'm doing a single player, and obviously people could be playing it multiplayer. Um, and yeah, people might take more damage than I do and end up degrading their armor more stuff, and I might not item repair like I always item repair whenever I can to preserve equipment. But nevertheless, yeah, overall, I feel like just the nature of your food system means that people will take less damage, and therefore the durability is kind of less important. That was my only thing to point out.
Mhm. Shut up, baby. um, the thing with the armor as well is with multiplayer, I just because I know quite a lot of people play my Mercy
Right?
multiplayer as well. That's why I give out just more stuff than the player
Right.
would actually need as well. So basically, the quality versus quantity we talked
Yeah.
about earlier, in like an earlier kind of DEFCON
Yep.
kind of thing.
And yeah, I mean, again, and I have talked about this when I made Vanilla Swirl, like, you have to be prepared for the player to inventory wipe, and when they inventory wipe, like, they might also lose, the equipment, you know, stacks of leather that they're holding or different types of things, and so giving more, it's almost never
Hmm.
bad so long as the inventory management doesn't become overwhelming. You're doing okay, and I'm flying back out of the dungeon at this point. Um,
Hmm.
yeah, and there were, I don't know, at least a couple of shulker boxes to be found on this map that helped out with the inventory management if people found those secrets.
Yeah, that's a problem with this map, the inventory management. You have all these different colorful
Right,
mesa blocks to fill up your inventory. You have the mushroom soup,
right.
and you have the chests, which they probably have too much loot in them. Like if you look at this, there's probably just too much in them. Too many different, yeah, just too much
Mm,
different stuff, I guess. So I might need to make that less if I use a random loot table again. And mob drops also clutter your inventory, and you could like within half an hour your inventory could be full again.
oh yeah.
Is the problem with the
Yeah,
main
you do a
problem with
good
this
you do a
map. And
good
I
job for the
like.
most part of mitigating a lot of that with the ender chests that are scattered throughout the maps, mostly at entrances to dungeons. As
So
go ahead.
that I know
I was
you
gonna say,
go.
as well as the fact that you did the food system the way that you did, and there's only like 6 different types of food in the whole map, as opposed to so many other maps that it's like, here, let's give you a pork chop and a steak and a mutton and a yeah.
That's how this map actually used to kind of be, where you would get multiple types of meat,
Mm-hmm.
like raw meat. I know you only get pork chops, and I also removed quite a few drops from the loot tables. Like I think skeletons don't drop bones because they're kind of
Right.
useless.
Although you still have bones in the loot chests,
That's right.
so it
I kind of I was too lazy
okay.
to remove those to go through all the chests because some of these are
I see.
pre-generated.
Okay, that's what I was just about to say. If it's a loot table, you just add it in one place. Okay. Yeah, and that was one of the few places I saw lots of people try to grow mushrooms on this map. And I thought you explained it well with the lore book that's in the house over by the monument that says that like food wasn't growing or something. But I think maybe the bones threw people off.
That was the function of the
lore books.
Of the lore books is basically just to
explain that mechanic.
To just tell stuff without placing signs was the idea. I could probably underline it just to make it like really obvious.
But yeah, removing the bones is the other thing that could potentially help.
And there are no spider eyes.
Right, that's good.
Because they could also remove the poison, which in hindsight, with the broken witch poison.
Yeah, I mean it's just
whatever.
Witches. So you don't. Yeah, we talked about this. I know, just like in Discord at some point, but you remove all the skeletons from the map, other than ones coming from spawners. But you don't do that with witches, and so yeah, I don't know. Like, have you considered just removing all the natural witches? Like,
I am kind of tempted to just do that for the next one if I want to do like really resource starved again. I personally think witches aren't that bad when you have the 15-second poison and you kind of know how to handle them, but that was probably not the best mindset because of course not everybody knows how to deal with them. You just can't expect 1,000 out of 1,000 players to do X or to know X. So yeah, I should have nerfed those probably as well.
Anyway, yeah, just something to think about. It's definitely the case that the kindness with regard to the skeletons, like I remember the first couple times I encountered skeletons in the map, like I just gotten out of practice with having not encountered them, and that kind of made them harder than they normally would be, I think, at the beginning. I
just wish you could like dodge the arrows more easier, where you could just basically walk to the side like you used to in like the beta days. Because I think that would work well with the sprinting, like actually dodging instead of just clicking away. Or now it's clicking and waiting away.
Yeah. In any case, I appreciated it on this map, especially with the combination of resource starvation and the food system. Not having to deal with skeletons, just kind of as you're randomly exploring the overworld was a big advantage, and I think it would have been super annoying if it wasn't that way.
Oh yeah, that would because skeletons is basically like now it's basically like you encounter one and it's trading one. It's basically the more you keep them alive, the more food they basically take up. Is the thing.
Right at the beginning, there was one of the first big explosion traps with the furnace.
Let me see if we can
expose it.
Yeah, so if you go, yes, here we go.
Yep, observers.
And then what I could do is put observers under observers.
Right, so that if people try to disable it that way.
These are my favorite things now. If you see an observer right in the obvious, think twice because there could be an observer under that. But be careful when you're checking next to an observer because I could expect you to do that and put an observer diagonally of the observer. That's the mind game.
Yeah, and I hope that you and other map makers do more of that because I'm so bored of watching every time someone's doing a Let's Play and they see a chest, they're like, oh, let's dig the block under the chest to see if there's a trap. Like, if the block under the chest was where the trap is, then people would stop doing that and it would be much more interesting.
What I also started doing, I don't know if you saw it right here, I just did that as well, is where I put... If I have a lot of TNT clumped together,
yeah, the obsidian below it, or what were we gonna say?
No, just the pressure plates in between it. So if you're breaking the TNT,
it still accidentally lands. Okay, got it.
Trigger the trap. So just basically.
Do you use any prime TNT anywhere in the map?
At least in the
The
puzzle
Vault of
room.
Acuity? I didn't even think
I
that that one was...
Yeah, the Vault of
oh, I guess it
Acuity.
was. But it was someone punched it and it didn't
Yeah,
set
it
off
is
chain
climbed.
reaction, right? I remember. Yeah, in any case, I was going to comment on this. I like this trap because this is one of the deadliest traps in the entire map, in my opinion. It's one of the few that I think is likely to kind of like insta-kill and insta-inventory wipe you. And I...
Oh, there's definitely one
I'm
that's
sure there's
worse.
at least one there's worse, but I feel like this one's like in the top 3 or something, at least that I found.
Yeah,
And
this one is pretty high, especially because of the lack of
right.
armor as
And
well.
I think that that's a great thing to do right at the beginning of the map because it sets the precedent that there are going to be traps and they can be deadly. And it does it at a time where the player doesn't have anything anyway. And so if you inventory wipe them, it's like, they got set back 10 minutes. Who cares?
That's the best place to kind of set the tone for the map and to like wipe the player's inventory for the sake of, hey,
Yep.
be careful.
So I really like that trap kind of right here at the beginning. And yeah, the fact that there was the furnace. Yeah, you occasionally get raw pork chops. But apart from that, is there anything that a player would use a furnace for in this map? I guess I turned some sand into glass when I wanted to make potions.
The gold ore and the iron ore.
Right. Yeah, much later in the map. Yeah, you'd want... I guess, yeah, you potentially find the iron ore early, so I guess it's worth it there.
Glass, iron ore.
Yeah, and you didn't have any stone at the beginning, and so the furnace definitely seemed valuable, even if it wasn't going to be quite so valuable.
Yep, and no logs.
Yeah.
Yeah, okay. That's the only thing, yeah. And then...
Right, so there's the anvil here that I never found.
Just more... There used to be like 3 beds right here. But... or at least they weren't here in the jam version, and then somebody complained like, oh, the players should probably have them because they are not craftable. And I thought it would be more fun if you kind of work your way towards
I liked
that.
kind of, yeah, an achievement with the spider
via the
webs or
string.
whatever. Like, it was beds and bows, I guess. I wasn't too fond of the achievement system overall, but I did like... There were a couple of little informative bits of steering. If you took a look at the achievements and could see what was coming up, to know that, oh, eventually you're going to get a water bucket. And, you know, oh, eventually you will be able to, you know, craft your own bow or something like that.
The advancements were mainly there to guide new players into like, hey, what do you need to do next? Especially with crafting an enchanting table. Most players would probably not really think about it because everything is given, almost everything is kind of given out at some point or another. So they would probably like not think about the enchanting table or wait for it, so that they actually craft it by the time they can.
Of course, even if they did craft it, they would also need to find the lapis.
I thought the lapis was kind of obvious. That's my opinion.
And then, yeah, there was this trap over here, which is the exact same trap that you had in Myriad. Oh, sorry, Corona.
The tutorial trap, yeah. Just showing like, hey, falling sand.
And then, after there was this falling sand trap, there's also one kind of on the way to Dungeon 2 with the iron blocks that are in the ground. And then, before the very end of the map, like, are there any other falling sand traps in the overworld?
Yes, the one right before the small palace.
Yeah, but and then there's also one at the entrance to Dungeon 6.
Yes, and there was... Oh, yeah, and there's... Oh, no, that is in the small cave. There's also one in the snow cave.
Oh, right.
That's a half one.
Right. And, yeah, I found it from below and, like, had to do a bit of work going back above to even figure out where it was. And I was like, oh, it's underneath the snow here on the top. I see. So, yeah.
I tried to not place them in like really big open spots.
Right, other than this obvious tutorial right here.
But they would be just randomly Yeah, but they would not be just randomly hidden. Like this one isn't. This one feels kind of obvious because there's still a chest, but it's not like the West Commons of
Right.
Legendary where you would constantly walk around being like,
Is this
"Is
block a trap?
is,
Is this block a trap?
is this block safe? And is this one safe?
I'm nevertheless
Maybe this one."
surprised, like with the shrubs and everyone picking up the sticks from the dead shrubs. I really thought at some point there was going to be a dead shrub somewhere in some depression that was going to set off a trap.
I should have probably just made like a whole badge like this, just so people would be like, "Oh, this gotta be a trap." Just to
Right,
mess
that
with
could
the
be
player a
interesting
bit
too.
more.
Although it's also dangerous that with so many secrets and puzzles that people will try to turn it into a puzzle and decode it or something. So it's probably best that you didn't then.
Yeah, that's all. That's. Mm-hmm. People will be like, "Oh, there's so many. Probably something here. Oh, there's nothing here. Render. Why is there nothing here?"
So
I am somebody who complains on your forum thread.
so places that there was something there.
Apparently, this one is. Apparently, this one is out of
Yeah, so it's a
place
different color.
for some reason. Yeah, they are colored just like same
Yeah,
colored rocks right over there, but I guess this is the first one that people could
right.
see as a different color. But that is probably
Yeah.
the dangerous
In any
thing.
case, I did see multiple people dig into it before they found the treasure map that led here.
Yeah, both treasure maps had the problem of it being discovered
Right. And
prematurely.
unfortunately, I watched someone find this one before I'd found it on my own. So I decided I wasn't going to dig in here unless something
Mm,
suggested that I did. And sure enough, eventually I found a treasure map that said to dig here. So then I could finally find it. But yeah, I was watching, some streamer early on. And yeah, they just happened to dig into this and find an emerald. And I was like, oh, crap. Spoiler.
mhm.
But yeah, there's one of the shulker boxes, some iron, and Yahaha, you found me, I guess is something from some Zelda thing.
Yeah, that's from Breath of the Wild, where you will pick up a rock and there would be like a suspicious rock. And there would be like a core rock underneath it. And this is a suspicious
I
rock,
see.
was the idea. So it's like, yeah, you found me. Just a reference to it again.
So, coming over here, bridges and
And then
trains.
you have this train rails right over here. I could probably make it like somewhere here as well. It's basically
Yeah,
here
it's
to
just
guide
steering you.
you
Hey, point of
towards.
interest, go this way. You're literally being railroaded.
Yeah, this basically. There's this big door basically right here, and it's like, oh, come check me out, and it's the second dungeon.
And
It basically
there was a
guides you right
zombie
over
spawner
here.
right here that I think I never found. Probably just because I light things up a whole lot or whatever, and so I probably put a torch there. But I was surprised when I was watching Kit play, and he actually found and broke that spawner, and I was like, wow, I didn't even realize that one was there.
hmm
Are you breaking anything in particular over here? Or?
I thought I
I
hit a
see.
secret somewhere here that you missed.
Yeah, I never came
I
to
don't
this
even
corner, so
know
that's why I
where
was
they
wondering,
are.
did I miss a secret there? There were a lot of these like
There's,
pillars in the canyon, and a lot of them had
hmm
secrets on top. Um,
Yes, some of I tried to make it obvious which
I guess you
ones
did,
had something on top,
because I'm going
which
to ones
ones
that I never climbed to the top
don't.
of, and they don't have secrets on top, and so I guess you actually did a really good job of telegraphing it one way or another.
Oh, this one does, but I guess this one is kind of obvious. At least if you look at it from the right
I
side.
see. Oh wow, there's just the iron sticking right out. Yeah, I missed
That was
that.
like that. Wait, can you see it from dungeon 3?
You might be able to see it from the dungeon 2
Not
entrance.
really. Kind of.
Um,
Oh, yeah, the angle is kind of horrible. Oh, yeah, and it blends in.
yeah, I'm not good at just like
Okay.
picking out one block at a distance, especially with kind of any amount of darkness, and
Yeah.
also I don't know. I'm always amazed. I watch No Leaf Clover, and like it'll be like there's one block, 400 blocks away that's a different color, and he's like, "Oh, there's a blue block over there," and I'm like turning my brightness up and leaning into my screen, and I still don't see it, kind of thing. So
Just get the Windows zoom function where it would zoom around your cursor.
I don't know if I'm just an old man or what. But yeah, I never see stuff like that.
Oh, that's interesting.
But yeah, over here, another house that had some resources. The kind of like obvious trap with the iron around here. That led to another one of these falling traps, but was also potentially... I haven't seen anyone make monster spawners, and I suppose that, or, you know, kind of like farms. And I suppose it's due to the lack of water that people find earlier in the map.
Yeah, that was kind of thing. This is the... I always have these spots where I expect people to make grinders, just because there are so many spawners.
Yes.
And this is definitely one of those.
I don't remember in my playthrough... I tend not to make grinders anyway, or whatever. I don't remember if I think I ended up breaking these spawners, but I definitely kind of like immediately, you know, thought of the possibility of making a grinder here. Because of all the spawners.
Okay.
I like the fact that you don't know where everything is hidden, because there's so many things.
Oh yeah, that's... Hey, where's the ender chest? Oh no, the ender chest is right.
Yeah, so this one was... There's like a trade-off in terms of putting the ender chest to the most valuable location versus breaking kind of any kind of rule consistency that gives the player a sense of what to expect. I think there was an ender chest at dungeon number 1, and so I didn't have a sense of it at the beginning already. I don't know if I even noticed that there wasn't an ender chest at the beginning of this dungeon.
I feel it wasn't really needed.
It is pretty close. It's pretty easy trail back to the monument.
Away, yeah. And the dungeon really starts when you get inside the
and
cave,
yeah, so I didn't start this dungeon until like episode 30, effectively. I went a little way into this dungeon and I was like, there's lava everywhere. I just played Sea of Cinders. I know due to the achievements that I'm eventually going to get a water bucket. Why don't I come back and do this later? And then, yeah, later didn't come for a long time. And some people who were watching my videos were wondering what I was up to. It did make it harder for me to watch other people because I had to skip their Dungeon 2 run.
Oh, yeah.
And I did, as a result, accidentally also see the location of this emerald that's hidden up on top of the skeleton spawners. I saw it in someone else's playthrough and they were looking from somewhere else. And so I explicitly, I guess you've already seen it, like in some episode in the 20s. I guess I technically broke the rules and left the map boundaries because I went on top of the bedrock.
Oh, yeah, with bedrock. I don't mind people walking on top of it because I could just put lava around because you can't bridge on the highest layer. So I could put lava around or something if I really wanted to. But I don't mind it when people go.
And also, I don't care what your rules are. I'm going to play whatever I want to play anyway.
That's also the thing with the rules as well. They're more like guidelines.
Yeah, suggestions on what should be fun.
And like it's not like there's a rule board or leaderboards on this player finished with.
So in any case, I'm way above you up here in the sky, but basically I walked around the whole outside of the map, but I specifically didn't look down in here because I knew from watching someone else that this emerald was here, and also I hadn't finished dungeon number 2 and I didn't know exactly what its layout was. And so I didn't look down here, and as a result, this was when I was explicitly looking for the lapis. I also didn't look over here to see this little bridge.
That's why I was surprised, because I haven't caught up to all of your episodes yet, because I've been kind of busy with like exams and finals. Hey, get off! Get off! Get off my lawn!
But
German kids. But yeah, I was kind of surprised that you didn't find the lapis when you said
and so I went all around the border, except I didn't look over here because I knew of a spoiler and I didn't want to see the spoiler on camera. And so I was going to try to find it naturally, and I did eventually find it naturally when I finished dungeon number 2, or possibly even when I found the lapis, actually. I don't remember what order those things came in.
It's right there, kid. It's right there.
And then I think No Leaf Clover saw like a blue or purple block somewhere here. Is there a blue or purple block somewhere here? Maybe I'm misremembering. Maybe it's somewhere else.
Here. There's one here.
Oh, wow.
And yeah, that's yeah, you know where that's from. And blue block.
Yeah, I guess that might be it. In any case, coming up towards dungeon number 4, like there's a whole wooden staircase that's broken that kind of like leads up here. And I guess it's because I saw the stone arches and saw dungeon number 4, like I just never looked back effectively.
And there are even these tiki torch kind of things.
Right.
that,
And then
like,
yeah, No
show
Leaf
out.
Clover saw this ladder from like halfway across the map, and I don't think I saw the ladder until I was on top of it up here. Yeah.
And
So
that's what.
it was well telegraphed, and I just missed it.
It's kind of with the water bucket right here, the water source. It's like, even though there's a fun path, like there's no way on top of this. Like, just go on top of there yourself.
Right.
Just explore. Kind of break the boundaries of the map. Which is what I kind of like from this little oasis place. This is also where you could do the ghast fishing, by the way, because of the
So I see you're trying to use your fishing rod.
because the it actually works pretty well. Look at this. Get over here. If I wait, look at this. My pet ghast. Come on. Oh. It's actually really fun. This used to be a thing, really, back in the day. Like when the Nether first was a thing, the ghast fishing became a thing. That's what kind of this small joke.
That's really back in the day, yeah.
Yeah, this was. Oh, man, that brings back memories actually. Because I've been playing this game for such a long time as well.
But yeah, finally at some point I was like, okay, I went around the boundaries of the map, but I guess there are some places in the middle that I didn't take a look, and sure enough, they were hiding the things I was looking for. But yeah, this is well hidden, and this is one of those things that I think the fact that you fit so much into this map and, like, you know, again, less than 1,000 by 1,000 area or whatever.
It's mainly also the
it's
height
really
of the
taking
map as
advantage
well
of the
that
height
makes this
and the
possible.
canyons. It's just so natural in terms of putting up these walls and boundaries, and even if it's not a huge distance that you have to travel, like, it just naturally blocks out certain areas, and so you don't necessarily realize how it all fits together in your head and realize that there's this whole area in the center where the oasis is that, you know, you've missed when you've walked around it from one side and walked around the other side. So it works really well.
I was working on one of my next maps, and I was making like a forest area. And while I was walking through it, just to see how it feels when you walk through it, like just not seeing what's like 30 blocks in front of you makes the area so much bigger, because you can't see the whole picture like in one fell sweep. So it really makes it feel a lot bigger when you can't see the whole thing at once. So all these pillars just make it bigger.
Yeah, the I'm going way out of order here, but the level 3 Infernizer that's in front of Dusty Peak is there's a lot of places that's almost, you know, you could be, you know, right here, and from over here you can see the monument and you can see this very obvious chest, but nevertheless, like, I didn't find it until, you know, an appropriate time relatively late into the map, and that's a nice weapon that's very easy for the player to come by if they just happen to, you know, come over here. So yeah, that just kind of speaks to the fitting a lot in a small size.
Yep.
Should we go back to dungeon number 2? Okay.
Yes.